Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Confident Leader Show, Thinking Differently. I have an esteemed guest. His name is Benson Feyhune. Benson, welcome this morning.
Thank you, Dana. It's good to be here again.
Great to see you. He is the CEO of the Relief for Human Suffering. And this is such an incredible foundation. And I wanted to circle back. You just got back from Africa, but I want to pause just a little bit to just go back and talk a little bit about you, this mission, the vision of your nonprofit, and tell us a little bit more about this Relief for Human Suffering.
Absolutely, Dana. Thank you. So, I am the founder of Relief for Human Suffering Foundation, as you heard from Dana. So, Relief for Human Suffering Foundation is a small nonprofit 501c3 US based that is really focused on creating a world where a person's ability to see is not dependent on the location of their birth or the color of their skin. So we're
Mm.
focused on helping to restore eyesight, essentially the gift of sight, to people, hundreds and millions of people in developing countries that are otherwise unable to see because of things like cataract or things like refractive error that may require the use of glasses. So we're very 100% volunteer based. We're really excited to make a difference in the world, do our part essentially to make a difference in the world.
I love that. And we talk a lot about how important eyesight is. I'd like for you to just pause and just talk about just this massive epidemic and what is the impact when people really can't see. We all take advantage of this every day. But for people who can't see, you especially have seen this many times. What is the impact that you're seeing for people who can't afford their eyesight?
Absolutely. I woke up this morning from my bedroom. I could see the beautiful sunrise in the East Coast. Many of us will do that in America today. We will wake up, we will see this beautiful creation that Heavenly Father has made. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, millions of people globally, that are not able to do that. When you look at the concept of visual impairment, there's over 2
Mhm.
billion people globally that are visually impaired, right? Of the 2 billion people that are globally impaired, you have about 90% of them are global impaired. Actually, 50% of them to start with are people that live in developing countries, right? Countries like Nigeria, countries like Cameroon, where we're just at, right? And then of the half of those 2.2 billion people globally that are in developing countries, about 90% of them are having visual impairment because of easily addressable problem, right? Things like
Right.
cataract and things like refractive error. So the importance of the ability to see, which is the reason why we call it the gift of sight, is a significant importance for a lot of us. If you just imagine a life without your eyes, without your ability to see for just, I would maybe say 15 minutes. If somebody were to take your eyes away for 15 minutes, imagine what that would look like for you. Now imagine that for the rest of your life. And that's what people really have to deal with. In Africa, which is where we're starting our efforts. There are 27 million people in Africa with visual impairment. 5 million of them are in Nigeria alone, which is where I'm from, right? And many of them are becoming blind for things that are easily addressable. For $20, you can get a pair of glasses and you're back on the road, right? You can
Yeah.
drive again, you can see, you can read. And for less than $100, which is less than a cup of coffee a day, right? You
Right.
can have surgery for cataract in one eye and you have your life back. But yet, people are on the road and people are becoming blind because of this easily addressable problem. That's why I agree with you that it is a pandemic and we want to do something about that.
Yeah. And you said something that's really important. This is an easily addressable problem, but you need two things to do it. And I want you to expand upon those two things that you need the most for, and also want to be able to talk about a few of the people that you were able to help in Africa because you recently returned and they're very powerful stories. So, Benson, I want the people out there to hear about the two things that you need the most right now.
Yeah, well, what I need the most really is funding, right? So, because we're 501c3, we are a public foundation. And because we're a public foundation, donations tax deductible to the extent allowed by the law. So for people that are already putting money to charitable causes, you're already going to put money away anyway. Somebody like
Right.
myself put a lot of money away for charity because of my position in life, fortunate position in life, if I may add. So if you're going to do that, you can put your money here and you can get tax deduction for that, right? So that's probably the most important thing we need. Because
Right.
today, if you look at a lot of the work we've done since we were founded, last year we helped about 600 people. And we are more than quadruple that from just this trip over the last 2 weeks. And I'll give you a little bit of a update on that. But 65, 70% of our funding today comes from private donors. Majority of that comes from myself as the founder of the foundation. We want to flip that, right? Because I just funding coming from me alone is not enough to solve this problem right now. The funding from me is going to solve some problem, and I'm okay with that. But I think there's a lot more problem to be solved. So we want to flip that and make sure that we can get more funding from the public, so that 80% of our funding comes from the public. So that's the number one thing we need. Like I said, as little as $20, you can have just one person with prescription lenses, and for less than $100, you can help with one cataract surgery. The second thing we need, of course, is for people that are able to volunteer their time, and you can volunteer your talent, you can volunteer your
Mhm.
skills. That we have opportunities to volunteer on the board of directors. We have other ways for people to volunteer. And then when you're volunteering, then to be a champion for the cause, help us to spread the news about this pandemic. It is a pandemic. People are suffering needlessly, and we want to get the words out there so that we can get more good people to be part of the solution. Because honestly, Dina, the way I look at it is that if you're not part of the solution, then essentially you are part of the problem, right?
Right.
If you have the ability to make a difference in the lives of somebody, that
Yes.
is being part of the solution. And if you don't do that, then you are part of the problem by default, right?
Right.
And none of my people that I know, uh, you know, want to not be part of the solution. There's a lot of really good people out there. I know there are a lot of good people out there, and
Right.
we ask them to join us in this cause so we can make more bigger impacts in the
Yes.
life.
I love that. Yeah. So let's get the word out, folks, and let's help Benson out here. And I want to go back to, the $20 donation in that story of the impact for that particular person in Africa that you might have been able to help. And I'd like to talk about that person that could have been $100 recipient of, your work that you do. So talk about a couple of those stories that you just got back from Africa and share it with other people, just the benefit of what you've given back to them.
Absolutely. The last couple of weeks I was in Africa, so I came back just a couple of days ago, and I tell you, the word I use to describe myself is gratitude. My heart is
Mm,
full of gratitude and appreciation. First of all, that I have the opportunity to do that, to
yeah,
go back to Mother Africa and be able to make a little of a difference that I can make. It was in every way you can think about, life changing, not only for the people that their lives were impacted, but for me as a person, it
yes,
was life changing for me, right? To go about meeting people from several places that need simple things that we can help them with, and then seeing the light in the light bulb in their eyes becoming brighter as they are able to kind of get the help that is so much needed. It
yeah,
was definitely a life changing experience that every single one of us, if we don't have the opportunity to get involved in anything at all that we're passionate about that can make us feel like that, we have to look for that. Right.
yes,
So if you look at what the
yeah,
impact we were able to have over the last couple of weeks, it was significant. We started the journey in Cameroon, where, as we talked about before, you have close to 1 million people in Cameroon that are impacted by this disease, right? And Cameroon is a country that is it's one of the poorest countries globally. The incidence of visual impairment in Cameroon is about twice what you see in a place like United States. You don't have all the amenities. You have less than 100 ophthalmologists, for example, in the country, right? So we were able to provide cataract surgery for or sponsor total of 50. of those in the country of Cameroon. And those 50 people, I was able to witness a significant portion of those. One of those people were a little gift, a little child that I would never forget. Her name is Dorothy. And Dorothy is a 7-year-old girl that was born with something called congenital bilateral cataract, meaning that she was born blind in both of her eyes.
Mhm.
She had cataract at birth. Now, if something like that happened in the United States, I guarantee you, within a few hours of birth, that child will be able to see, right? You can easily address that. But for Dorothy, that was not the case. She not only was born blind, but she remained blind up to the day that I met her in Cameroon. She had traveled with her father for 3 days before she got to Yaoundé, which is the one of the three biggest cities in Cameroon.
Yeah.
And so we were very fortunate to be able to have a positive impact in the life of Dorothy. She went in for surgery. She had surgery in both of her eyes. We actually had to pay close to 250% more of what we would typically pay.
Mhm.
We had to
Mhm.
give her anesthesia. But today, Dorothy has both of her sights back. She could see now, and she has
Mhm.
a whole life ahead of her. Ahead of her, we have pictures of Dorothy that we will be posting on our social media
Love
over the
it.
next few days. We post pictures of her. You can see a picture of her before she had surgery. You can see a picture of her after she had surgery, before the pads were removed. You can see a picture of her, you know, after the pads were removed, and with her ability to be able to see. That is fascinating. If that's not life changing for you, that doesn't move you to want to be a part of the solution. I don't know
Yeah.
what would. Right.
Right.
So that was the impact we have in Cameroon. And Cameroon, we're just starting in Cameroon. We're really looking forward to expanding our partnership and finding more partners in Cameroon so we can do more of this work,
Awesome.
because the need is insane there. Now we went to Nigeria from Cameroon. And in Nigeria, that was another very successful story, because we were in Nigeria last year within 6 months of our founding, and we helped 600 people in Nigeria. That 600 people included 50 cataract surgeries and 550 refractive error corrections. This year, we were able to have routine medical screening, free routine medical screening,
Mhm.
eye screening rather, for 3,000 people in Nigeria across 13 different communities. And of those 3,000 that were screened, we had a little close to 1,300 of them that received correction of their refractive error, meaning
Awesome.
they had glasses either to read or to see far. And we had 160 people, 160 people that had cataract surgeries in their eyes. That 160 people included a lady by name Gift. Gift is a 47-year-old woman married with 5 children. And she had become completely blind in both of her eyes about 4 years ago because of uncontrolled type 2 diabetes. And she lost her job. All 5 children were no longer going to school, either because they have to stay home to help her move around, or because they didn't have money to pay for what they needed for school anymore. And her husband had a job, but she had a job that was 2 hours away, commute one way and 2 hours back, and
Mm.
he made the equivalent of $40 a month for that job, and more than 50% of that $40 is used actually on the transportation back and forth, and they pay another 20 to 30% on rent. So they're left with nothing. They
Mm.
literally they go days without food. Talk less of having to look after
Mm.
their son. Today, Gift had two cataract surgeries. She could see today. She has her whole life back, and now she's in the process of, getting back to being gainfully employed, and also sending the children back to school. That is another story that is life changing in
Yeah.
so many ways. And
Yes.
we will know more details about Gift as many and older people that we had the ability to impact. We actually had some information on our social media already that you can see some of the patients that we were able to interact with while we were there. That is what I mean when I say this is life changing. When you
Right.
can make an impact like that for so little,
Yeah.
and then imagine many more people that can benefit
Yes.
from something And that's why I am so flipping, excited about this. And at the same time, I'm a little sad because I couldn't do more. And that's where I need people, good people everywhere.
Yes.
To help
Well,
me.
Benson, I'm very convinced you will be doing more, much more, because we want people out there to hear just the impact that we can see. And, to be able to see sight has such a profound impact, not only for yourself, but the world around us, the world, the families, so many things that you talk about. So I want to thank you, Benson, for coming on today and talking about relief for human suffering. And certainly I'm calling everyone to help this foundation. If you feel led to volunteer, give of your time, give of your money, give of your services, reaching out across the table to help someone else, because it really does have a great impact around the world. And as Benson said, and I truly believe this, you can be a part of the solution or you can be a part of the problem. For us not to address human suffering around the world, then we are a part of the problem. So you have my commitment, Benson, as you know, to help you move forward. And I want to thank you on this great journey that you're on. And it's very inspiring. And, I want to go back to the one word I want to share with you, because I'm grateful for you and your vision for what you see for relief for human suffering. And I want to thank you for your work. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to do next. Thank you,
Absolutely.
everyone, for joining us on the Competent Leader Show today, Thinking Differently. And that's exactly what Benson is doing. Thanks so much, Benson, for joining us today.
No, thank you, Dina. I appreciate it. And then, like you said, it doesn't take much to make a difference. And just very quickly, we've helped many people so far, but the goal is 6,000 people in 22,
Yeah.
right? We are probably about 30% of that goal.
Yep.
So your help and your volunteering time and donation
Yep.
is going to help us to reach that goal.
Yep.
The way to donate is to go to our website, which
Yes.
is r4hsfoundation.org. And then also people can test Africa 2022 to 44321. So Africa 2022 to 44321 to get a donation link. But again, I'm really, really, really grateful to you as well, Dina.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us today.
I love that. Thanks, Benson.